Namaste. मेरा नाम Dr. Jonathon Thorp, Mo, Chief Operating Officer, Sheer Memorial Adventist Hospital, Nepal. Hello, my name is Jonathon Thorp, and I'm a physician, graduate of Loma University in 2012, and most recently the Chief Operating Officer at Sheer Memorial Adventist Hospital in Nepal. This is a traditional Nepali outfit with the topi. It's straightened up here a little bit, and the Nepali flag. So there's the symbol, and then the two Gorkha swords on either side, and then the map of Nepal underneath it. So this is the national symbolic emblem, and then this is called, I don't actually know the name of it, but it's the traditional dress that a man would wear. I do not have the gift of tongues. I struggled for years and I still can't speak hardly a single word. Namaste, so this is the typical greeting that is said. Namaskar, on the other hand, would be a term used to acknowledge someone of high status. Goliochia manparcha, I love sweet tea, or I like sweet tea. And yes, I do. Nepali tea is the best. Let's see. Boli batola. See you tomorrow. Kauka duksha, headache. That's the extent of my Nepali. Don't ask me another word. Many people have a quizzical look when they hear that I've lived in Nepal. Where on earth is Nepal? And I have to remind them that we live in the shadow of the tallest mountains of the world, the Himalayan mountain range. We're sandwiched between China to the north and India to the south. It's a small country with approximately 30 million people as a population. My family and I have just loved our time in Nepal. We've been so blessed to be there and to learn a little bit of the Nepali language, some of the Nepali cultures. Nepal is it's a stunning country, a place that has truly stolen my heart. I will never forget the experience of a little safari that we took as a family. And after this safari, we decided we wanted to try riding an elephant. My oldest son was approximately, about 3 years old, and James was just having so much fun, and Joseph was a newborn, and we got up on top of this elephant and we're going through the bushes, and all of a sudden things started trumpeting and making so much noise, and oh my goodness, the earth was just shaking, the animal was just shaking, and I guess there was a tiger nearby, and the two elephants were talking back and forth to each other and just stampeding through the bushes, and well, needless to say, it's an experience that I'll never forget. Sheer Memorial Adventist Hospital was established in 1960. It's located approximately 30 kilometers to the east of Kathmandu, the capital of the country of Nepal. It's located in the hilly region of the country, surrounded by an agricultural area, in a beautiful spot with fields of rice and wheat all around on the eastern and northern sides of the hospital. The hospital started by the sacrificial work of Dr. Stanley and Raylene Sturgis. Since 1960, the hospital has provided uninterrupted care through earthquakes, wars, you name it. We have always provided care. We provide care to approximately 120,000 outpatients per year, about 14,000 emergency room visits, and around 33,000 days of inpatient care. We have a total staff of just over 300 employees and approximately 40 physicians in the staff count also. We are blessed to serve in this community and to work to better improve the quality of care, the access of care, and to provide care to those who, in many cases, can truly not find access to medical care elsewhere. Unfortunately, Nepal has some of the worst air quality in the world. When I moved in 2017, I was shocked at how poor the air quality was. Your throat burned all the time. Your sinuses hurt. You always had a runny nose. You had fluid running down the back of your throat. Your eyes itched. It was really, really bad. And I only lived there for 4 years. My little baby, he was 2 months old when he came, chronically sick, just always having respiratory symptoms because of the poor air quality. We purchased an air purifier in our home, and it's remarkable how well it cleaned up the air and how easy we could breathe. At the same time, most people are not that fortunate and cannot afford the purchase of air purifiers or other instruments to clean the air. And unfortunately, many people really develop crippling, terrible lung disease. In fact, interestingly and tragically, more people die in Nepal of lung-related diseases than any other cause. That's not congruent with the global statistics where the majority of people die from heart or heart-related diseases. SHEAR didn't have the capacity to check a person's lung function. And when you see a patient out of breath and they cannot breathe in clinic or on the ward, and it just, you're not certain, what's the cause? Is it a heart problem? Is it a lung problem? You need that extra diagnostic capacity to figure it out. Sure, there's clues on physical exam and from history, but to definitively make a diagnosis and to guide treatment, it's really helpful to have equipment. And that's where the medical auxiliary has come in. We were able to receive the funding to establish a small spirometry lab at the hospital. A small piece of equipment we can use to measure patients' lung function. It's one thing to have equipment, it's a totally another thing to actually use the equipment properly. And so through the collaboration with Loma Lynda University and Auxiliary and Adventist Health International, a trainer came from Loma Lynda and spent 1 week working with our staff to train them to properly administer the testing so that we would get accurate and valid results. And the exciting thing is that this is really the first stage of hopefully a really robust respiratory program at the hospital. And so the funding that has been provided by the auxiliary has really been the seed funding, has been the money to start this exciting and visionary project off. And hopefully over the years to come, a fully functional lab, a fully functional educational program will develop, and the lives of thousands of people would be benefited. The spirometry lab is really fundamental to fulfilling our mission statement. The mission statement of SHEAR Memorial Adventist Hospital is to provide compassionate, patient-centered care to international standards for all people, all patients, regardless of their ability to pay. You know, when I think of the impact to the community, not only do they have access to the care, secondly, they have access to the diagnostic equipment that we have available, and it allows us to build even a stronger, more reputable name in our community. Certainly, there are other hospitals that provide spirometry equipment, but none of them are accredited facilities. And so one of the steps that we started working on was to get our lab accredited to the same standards that we would have in the US. And that allows us to really, truly fulfill our mission statement of achieving international standards. We don't want to do a job halfway. We want to do it with excellence in everything that we do. Frontline mission work is really tough. It's challenging, particularly when you're in the middle of a communist country. In 2017, Nepal had its quinquennial election, and the Communist Party of Nepal won the election, and some significant changes occurred within the country. Organized labor through trade unions became a very significant factor, and it's been really tough, really tough to work with that at the hospital because of uncooperative government and a trade union that is not supportive of the hospital. We've had a challenge getting the pulmonary lab up and fully functional. We've been working on a lot of renovations and have the equipment, it's installed, but we still are waiting for a final room to actually put the equipment in full time and for it to be used. But I'm really thankful that despite a lot of challenges and some really gloomy days, God continues to take care of the institution. A friend of the hospital, a local Nepali, said SHEAR has always been the soccer field of the devil and the laboratory of God's grace. God continues to protect this little tiny hospital to be a beacon of hope and a beacon of healing for those in the community that are seeking care. COVID-19 was never expected. COVID-19 has thrown us all for a loop, and it's been really tough for a small mission hospital to survive this pandemic. We recently renovated the top floor of one of our buildings, completely gutted it, put tile down, put a ceiling in, installed oxygen piping throughout the building, purchased high flow nasal cannula units, patient care monitors, a portable chest x-ray. It's through the partnership of donors around the world that this has become a reality, but there is still remaining needs. We still need about $50,000 to finish out the oxygen piping throughout the hospital to ensure that patients who need access to oxygen can get it. We use portable cylinders right now. We went out in faith and purchased the x-ray unit, $5,000-$6,000, and that's a need there. Additional patient monitors, between $3,000 and $4,000 for those monitors. The request for funding that we've made this year to the medical auxiliary specifically is for personal protective equipment for our frontline workers at Shear Memorial Adventist Hospital. You can imagine, you've seen it on TV, and maybe some of you are working in a healthcare environment where you want to be protected from this deadly virus. And the necessary equipment, whether it's the head units, the face coverings, the N95 masks, the gowns that completely cover your body, the gloves that are over your arms, the booties that cover your feet, all of that material is and disposables they're not cheap. They cost a lot of money. So we are coming to the auxiliary this year to request your assistance with funding so that we can purchase and continue providing necessary equipment our staff need to safely care for patients on a daily basis. We want to thank you for partnering with the hospital. And for me, partnership is a very, very broad term. Certainly it includes a financial piece for those who are able to support financially, but for many people, it's not practical. This has been a tough and a very challenging year for many people, many families. And so I'd like to ask that you remember us in 3 ways. First, that you continue to pray for a smooth and a strong, positive relationship with the government. We're going through a lot of really challenging changes in our organizational legal structure, and I just ask that you please remember that in your prayers. Secondly, I'd ask that you please remember the COVID-19 response. We have a fraction of the resources at the hospital as compared to a Western context where it's a very developed system. Thirdly, that God would continue to provide the resources, the means to operate the facility. We operate primarily on patient revenue from the services we provide, and that's down significantly, about 25 to 30%. So please remember us in those 3 ways.